Inside this beautiful neighborhood in Hendersonville, Tennessee, there is an unsolved mystery. It was a Sunday night going into a Monday morning, and 15-year-old Sebastian Rogers was supposed to be inside his home sleeping. His mother, Katie Rogers, says he went to bed at 9, but was making some noise around 10, including a thud sound. Katie told him to go to sleep. She went to bed at midnight. Then at 6 a.m., Katie woke up. She went to his room to get him ready for school, but Sebastian was gone. She searched the house, and he was nowhere to be found. Sebastian's stepdad, Chris, was not home, and Sebastian's father was at work about 45 minutes away. Police responded and began trying to figure out what happened. That was February 26th. And now, more than a month later, no sign of Sebastian, no sign of foul play, and no answers about what happened to Sebastian. Tonight, we'll take a look at the neighborhood, the search areas. Where could he be? Then we'll take another look at Sebastian's parents. What did they say? What does their body language say? We'll bring in our experts as we continue our investigation into the mysterious disappearance of Sebastian Rogers. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. Where did he go? Where did Sebastian go? And did he go there by himself? Was he lured by someone? Did someone do something to him and take him somewhere? We don't know. We don't know. It's more than a month. He's 15 years old. He's a teenage boy with autism. I mean, could he conceivably on his own be that stealth if he's running away from home, running away from something that maybe was happening at home? Could he really sneak out without a trace? Could he go somewhere and not be seen? Could he survive? He didn't just vanish. He did not just vanish. That didn't happen. So every investigation, missing person or a homicide, you've got to look at the people closest to the victim or the missing person and figure out, you know, what do they know? Where were they? What are they saying? So what do they know? Here, you're talking about three parents. One of them was on the show last night. That's his dad. Now, his mom is the one who says, he was with me. He was with me. Stepdad was away, out of town working. Dad lives in another house and was working at the time as well in the morning. So what do the parents know? And that's what everyone's trying to peel through, trying to figure out this mystery. But do they know something that would lead investigators to where he is? Or is this just like, well, let's look over here, let's look over there? Can a 15-year-old really just vanish and there's no lead or like obvious place to look, some sign, some indication, some communications on his phone, evidence of foul play somewhere? And do the parents know anything about what was going on in his world, in his life, whether it's at home, at school, online, somewhere? And obviously, investigators know more than we do, but when you listen to them, you don't know. And were there problems at home? Right? You have to start there. Inside this house where he's living, 15 years old, with autism, a teenager, a full-fledged teenager, doing things and acting and reacting the way teenagers do, and acting and reacting as someone with autism does. And is this a problem? Is it causing conflicts between him and mom, him and stepdad? Are there any problems in that home? Were there problems inside that home that would lead to something, right? It could be something happens in the home, there's a conflict, things get physical and something happens. It could be there's tension in the home that makes him want to leave. Either way, you have to understand what's happening in the house to see if that's the reason why. Because there has to be a reason. Children don't just vanish. There's a reason why everyone is looking for him. There's a reason why he's not home. But who has that information that can uncover that reason? And then the big question, will they find him? You've got law enforcement searching. His dad has volunteers helping him, and they're searching. People are coming from out of state to help dad search. I'm sure members of the community are keeping their eyes open as well. But will they find him? That's one of the questions I want to deal with tonight. Is the search efforts, the search area, where are they looking? Where could he possibly be? If in fact he left the house barefoot with a flashlight? Like no shoes and a flashlight. How far is he going? How fast is he going? And how does no one see him? How is he not picked up by any camera anywhere? So the sheriff's office speaks to the public because they need the public's help, number one. Number two, it's a huge story locally, nationally. So they want to keep the public informed because they realize that they work for the public. And the Sumner County Sheriff's Office Chief Deputy Eric Craddock spoke with Nick Barris. Nick was on this show as well from Scripps News Nashville. And again, you know, you listen to every word they say. Listen to every word because they're not saying a lot. And what I'm going to play for you now is not a lot, but listen to every word.
I think in the absence of information, what we'll continue to do is go back over everything we've already done once, put a fresh set of eyes on it.
Any evidence of foul play?
We have not cleared anyone, but we have absolutely no evidence to support foul play.
Did you hear every word? We have not cleared anyone. He starts with that, but there's no evidence of foul play. I think that's significant, that no one's been cleared. They're looking for new leads, new evidence. They're going back over things, which is important. Delphi murder case, if they had gone over things, they could have solved that one much less than 5 years. Much less because the information was there. They just needed to check it and recheck it. So that's good that that's happening. I want you to take a look at this video. And this was video, again, Nick Barris from Scripps News Nashville got us. From that neighborhood, some security footage. I don't know what it is. It almost looks like one of those UFO videos that we've seen, right? But he described the neighborhood at night. It's pitch dark. There are no street lights in this beautiful neighborhood. But there's something illuminating there, right? There's something, 3 o'clock in the morning, right in the middle of that window of time, midnight when Katie says she goes to sleep, 6 a.m. when she's looking for her son. So again, let's take a listen to Eric Craddock speaking with Nick Barris about that video.
No evidentiary value?
It is of no evidentiary value.
Can you tell me what those lights are?
No,
Why?
because the investigation remains ongoing.
And so it could play a role down the road depending on developments?
We don't know what we don't know. So yes, it could play a role.
I listened to every word, but I didn't understand it. Do they know what it is and they don't want to say? Because he didn't say that. He was asked directly, do you know what it is? You could say, yes, I do, but I can't tell you. But that's not what he said. So it doesn't have evidentiary value, maybe because they can't identify what it is. Again, where are we in all this? Okay, so I want to get a better idea of this neighborhood, this house, the environment, where he could have gone, where the searchers are actually looking. So we need to bring in our friend from Portland, Oregon, podcaster Gray Hughes, who you can watch on YouTube at Gray Hughes Investigates. And obviously, he's been going through all of this stuff, mapping it, finding as much as he can. And he joins us tonight. Gray, great to see you.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Let's begin. We've got some images from one of those realty sites of the exterior of Sebastian's home. So if you could tell me from your perspective, maybe we could drop those words below so we can see the whole pictures. Tell us about the house, what you've noticed, and what interests you in this house.
It's just really just the layout now makes total sense. I think right now we're looking at the back of the house, and on the left-hand side is, right there on the left is Faith's bedroom. She's in the back. And when we were looking at the front of the house, the one singular square window on the right, that's Sebastian's bedroom.
So it's first level, it's ground level. It's not an upstairs bedroom. These are downstairs bedrooms.
Yeah, exactly. Upstairs there's like a bonus room, really big room. You could put a pool table or something like that, but it's not a bedroom.
So, and I'm looking at the house, right, the back. It looks like there are ways, right, to get in and out, right? I mean, there's a back entrance, a front entrance. I don't think they had security. They didn't have a Ring camera.
Right, it looks like there's a mud room there. And right outside the mud room is where the couch in the living room would be, where she would have heard Sebastian, when he made the noise at about 10 o'clock, a thud sound. And she said, hey, did you fall off your bed? You know, get back to sleep, or whatever the terminology was that she used. But that was around 10, so she would have heard him from there. But when she went to her bedroom, which is in the back of the house in the far right. So if we get back to the back of the house, it's on the right-hand side, so it's kitty corner all the way across the house. So see, it's actually behind this shot right here, because this is the mud room here.
Well, let's do this. We've got some video from inside as well. Let's roll some of the video from inside so people can see. Again, this is from one of those realty sites. And again, beautiful house, beautiful neighborhood. But go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, I think this is that was just like an office that you could have in there, and then right through there is that mud room. This is the master bedroom with the two windows. That's in the back of the house on the far right. This room right here is Sebastian's room, and this room right here is I forgot, Faith's bedroom, right? And that's the front door right there. You know, it's hard when it's moving so quick.
It's moving very fast. Well, let's do this to give people some perspective. We've got a sort of a top view that is similar to what you put in your video, and I think this will give you an opportunity to describe for us the bedrooms. And I see Sebastian's is labeled, and that's as you described, the front. If you're looking at the house, it's the front right. If you're in the house, it's front left.
Well, see, on that screen, what we're looking at right there, you see Stafford Court right there on the right. That one dot should be, I believe, like the dot for Sebastian should be further down and right on the corner there. And then the other bedroom on the far bottom right-hand corner is actually Faith's room, if I'm looking at this correctly here. And then the master bedroom is where in the upper right-hand corner. See how it's all the way across the house? And yeah. So she wouldn't have heard anything. So that couch is right there. So when she went to sleep, it's a keypad operated doors. So I was thinking earlier, like, man, if he got out of the house, the door would be unlocked unless he brought his keys with him. But then it turns out it's a keypad lock. So he could have just gone out the sunroom and left. And, you know, one of the things I keep thinking about is, do you remember the Harley Dilly case? Kid that he was 14 years old in Ohio. And everybody was all over the parents going, oh, look at this, because he was missing. Exactly the same story. And he ends up being found at a neighbor's house. He had gone up the chimney and got stuck in between the wall. And so they actually found him 24 days later. So could there be something like that in this case where he got out and he liked to play hide and seek and he went into some place and he couldn't get out? And I thought it was a good idea that they went and searched that area with a more micro look to see if they could find him in crevices and things like that.
And that's something his father mentioned in one of his interviews, you know, because he knows his son and the way he is. And he was imploring the public, listen, if you're looking and you see a place like, oh, no, he wouldn't go there, check that place because he's a little quirky, and he might be in a place that you wouldn't expect to find someone, or you wouldn't expect someone to be perhaps hiding in that area. I want to and you made a great point though, that the master bedroom as far away from his room as possible in that home.
Exactly.
So if you're getting out, you could potentially get out. And I wasn't sure if it was upstairs, downstairs, but everybody's on that ground floor, which also makes it a little bit easier to get out of the house. There's no creaking stairs. You're not going to hear someone above you getting out of bed. The one thing, though, is the thud. It would have been very easy for her to get up, though, and check on him and find out what the thud was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, she just yelled back there because she was reading, probably didn't want to get up, and just yelled back, and he said, "Oh, I'm fine." So that calmed her. If he hadn't responded, I'm sure she would have walked back there, in my opinion anyways. I mean, there's a lot of people that are, sort of going against the family, the parents, and, I'm going to go, law enforcement in that last press conference seemed to go as close as you could get. I see exactly what you're saying in that intro, how it's couched with nobody's been cleared, but they said they've been cooperating since the beginning. They've done everything that they've asked them to do, and they can't find anything associated with them leading to foul play. So they do say that they're still looking, at any possibilities. So who knows where it'll lead, but I think it's very possible that he just left the house. Now, maybe he left because he didn't like being there. So
right. There's a reason. There might be a reason to leave, and I've been talking about this, and I asked his father last night, is it possible he could have been lured by friends? And he didn't think so because of the way his perception of time, that like if someone said, "Hey, let's leave at, meet me at 3 in the morning or whatever," he doesn't compute that way, is the way Seth described that. But I want to put on the screen a wider view of where the house is and what's surrounding the house and get your take on that area. Because if he is, in fact, walking out, potentially barefoot, with a flashlight, I'm looking at this area, and one thing just jumps out. I mean, there is this huge forested area here, these woods, which are extremely close to where the house is.
Yeah, and those woods are absolutely just thick, I mean, as you can imagine. And there's a creek. See that road on the far right that goes north? There's a creek right along that, almost acting as a barrier. And there are just tons and tons of little ponds and water areas inside of this whole area. And one thing I was wondering about is there's a lot of swimming pools at people's homes. I don't know in that area if they cover their pools, but let's say somehow he got into one of those. Has everybody checked their swimming pools by pulling off the cover to see if he happened to go in there? I mean, I think that's a possibility because there's dozens and dozens of swimming pools right around in the area.
And I think what's crucial, I mean, you have to do this extensive search in every area that's close. That is close. I go back to the Casey Anthony case, and they were searching everywhere, and little Kaylee Marie was found in the closest wooded area to the Anthony's home, 10 feet into the woods. I mean, it was that close. It's almost like the first place you would look if someone was trying to get rid of something. Where's the closest wooded area? There it is, and it wasn't even deep. So I'm with you that, I'm glad that they're back searching in this area as well. Gray Hughes, great information. Gray Hughes Investigates on YouTube. Make sure you check it out. But after this show, Gray, we're not sending them over yet. You got to wait till this show's over.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
All right.
All right, folks, when we come back, we're going to bring in some experts. We're going to go through some of the comments made by the parents, some of the body language. Does it all make sense? Plus, coming up next hour.
Big news in Kissimmee, Florida, connected to the Madeline Soto murder investigation as the medical examiner releases information connected to the autopsy report. Was this murder an act of domestic violence?
We believe she was already dead at the time, and that Stephen Stearns moved her body in the early morning hours on that day.
We are underway in the trial of doomsday prophet Chad Daybell.
Prosecutors say they will seek the death penalty against him.
Investigators have recovered human remains at Chad Daybell's residence.
There's no way, Morgan. I can never come up with this.
His wife, Lori Vallow Daybell, has already been convicted.
Now, will her husband end up with the same fate?
It's just so hard to know where the truth ends.
It's the doomsday prophet, Chad Daybell, on trial.
Once again, she wasn't being an adult. She wasn't being a parent taking care of an autistic child.
That's Seth Rogers. He was on the show last night. That is Sebastian's father. And obviously, he and Sebastian's mother, Katie, don't see eye to eye on everything, right? Some discrepancies in how they see how their child should be raised and how he should be parented, how he should be cared for. And he was pointing that out, and he looked at what happened here, and he said, yeah, here we go again. Again. So it looks like there's some history here. And I understand parents that aren't together, don't always see eye to eye on everything. But he seemed pretty specific about, again, under her watch. He was not confident in the way that she was handling, parenting, and setting rules and everything else for Sebastian. Take a listen, because he went into more detail about it here, about what he does and what they were working towards, which I thought was really significant.
And if there's no routine, then autistic children don't act the same way they're supposed to. When I've had him, there's a routine in my house when I have him. And he's a teenager. You're going to listen. You're going to hear some back talk probably. I mean, they're growing. They're going to rebel some way. They're teenagers, So you're going to listen to it. You're going to have to deal with it. But you still got to remember that you're a parent. And you have to adjust your lifestyle to be able to make sure that they can adjust and learn and still grow. You can't do some of the things that I've seen her do in the past. Most of my discussions were actually taken care with Chris. And Sebastian was supposed to come live with me. Chris was working on Katie, on getting her to agree to it. And all I wanted was my son to come live with me.
Now, in a YouTube live stream today with the host of Justin on TikTok, Seth Rogers made some shocking claims about an instance of sexual abuse while Sebastian was living in California with his mother, and why Seth says Chris Proudfoot wanted Sebastian to live with him. Before we play this next clip, you should know Court TV has not independently verified these allegations made by Seth.
There was another CPS incident in California at her house. Katie and Chris let a child into their house that was 5 years older than my son. My son was 7 or 8 at the time, and this kid was 13. She has a habit of not checking on her kid. They were letting this kid play with my son, and they weren't checking on him. And then this kid took my son's innocence, and he molested him.
Worst nightmare.
My son around his daughter, because Chris has turned around into my mother told my mom, your grandson's a pedophile. No, he's not. He's a victim that hasn't got the help that he deserves and that he needs so that he can get over the traumatic incident that has happened to him. That should have never happened underneath their watch to begin with. That's why Chris doesn't want my son around his daughter.
because he's scared that my son is going to do the same thing that was done to him under his watch.
That is heartbreaking. Let's bring in our guest to make some sense of all of this in Miami, Florida, body language and communications expert and instructor at the Body Language Institute. Tiffany Lee is with us. In Pensacola, Florida, private investigator Lauren Vellucci. And in Los Angeles, forensic psychiatrist, trial expert, witness, and columnist Dr. Carol Lieberman. Tiffany Lee, I want to begin with you. You've seen Dad here in several circumstances. I see the emotion. I see the frustration. What are you seeing and hearing from Seth Rogers?
Exactly. Everything you just said, Vinnie. I mean, when I first started watching clips of him, what we see consistently is, until he talks about the sexual assault, his tone is the same. He doesn't necessarily raise his voice or go really low. His tone is consistent. Even his blink rate, at the rate at which he's blinking his eyes, is consistent with him being truthful and being honest. But what I will say is, whenever he brings up the wife, he does a lip compression, which is where we kind of press our lips together. And that is something that can indicate a strong negative emotion. So definitely watch for that and pay attention, but he really does indicate that there's definitely some tension between the two, for sure.
Dr. Carol Lieberman, something happened, right? Something happens. It seems that from what Seth is saying here, if it's true, there is tension in that home. You've got a 15-year-old boy with autism, teenager, allegedly molested. Stepdad has a daughter that's in the house sometimes. Stepdad allegedly accusing Sebastian of being some sort of pedophile and is afraid of this cycle taking place. To me, this is serious stuff we're talking about, Dr. Lieberman.
Yes, absolutely. And also, you know, when he puts his mouth in that way, it's also, you know, closes it like that. It also reflects his trying to prevent himself from saying what he really thinks about his ex-wife. So, you know, I mean, of course, it's a lot of times autistic children, depending upon where they are on the spectrum and exactly what's wrong, they are more vulnerable to getting sexually abused and being abused in general. You know, it's sad that at that point, I mean, something should have happened at that point, ideally, that Sebastian should have been taken away from the mother and stepfather. And obviously he would have been a lot better off with his real biological father. And there's also another story about how the mother allowed him to be exposed. This is a different incident, but allowed him to be exposed to a man who had been in jail for pedophilia. Now, there's have not heard specifically that he did, in fact, that this other man did abuse Sebastian too. But I mean, the father was really upset that why is she letting a known pedophile around our son?
Lauren Vellucci, and this has been, I think, the theme from the beginning, right? That children don't just vanish. They don't just disappear. Something happened. Now we're hearing about a little bit about potential tension in this home, a reason for him to perhaps want to leave, a reason for there to be conflict, a reason for something to happen. And I think this is an avenue, as they've described everyone as cooperating, but I think investigators would need to sort of peel back the layers of everything that was happening here.
Absolutely. And Hendersonville is actually a town that I know a good bit about. I have a dear friend that grew up there. It's also where Taylor Swift went to high school. And it's a very safe community. It's a great place to raise a family. So as you were saying that, I was thinking that when Seth Rogers last night said that he mostly communicated with the stepdad, that was odd to me in a lot of reasons, and it signals to me that there is a tumultuous relationship. So if he was potentially going to live back with his father, you know, this is sad, but we have seen it so many times that the mom or dad or family member potentially not wanting them, but not wanting the other spouse to have the child. And that's the worst case scenario, but it has happened, sadly, and we know about that. So that is a concern as well.
Yeah, I agree. And I think understanding all the dynamics and anything that's happening in their lives, because it can go many different ways. It can give him a reason to want to get out of the house as well, but there has to be a reason. Children don't just vanish. Everyone's staying with us. When we come back, we're going to talk more about the parents. These are the three people closest in the world to Sebastian Rogers, who is still missing.
About 9 o'clock, told him to go to bed. And he come out of his room where he was playing. He said, "All right, good night, Mama. Good night, puppies. Love you." And went to bed. He was doing something in his room because about an hour later I heard some noise and I was like, "I don't care what you're doing in there, but go to sleep." And about midnight I got up and I went to bed. And 6 o'clock, I went to wake him up for school Monday morning, and that's when he wasn't here.
So there's stepdad and mom's the one really talking, right? Describing what happened that day. That's on the Chronicles of Olivia. Really fascinating interview. I showed that clip, or a bigger piece of that clip, to Sebastian's dad, Seth, on the show last night, and here's part of his reaction to that.
I'm not here to sling mud, but why is she asking Chris to verify what she did on Sunday when Chris wasn't here on Sunday?
Okay, so now let's play a longer piece of that clip so you can see the dynamic between Katie and Chris as Katie's talking about what happened that day. Let's watch.
We went and picked up our niece. Yeah, I got a call and asked if I could go and pick her up, and I did. And so we went and did that, and we went to BJ's. Had a good time there. He ate a colossal popcorn. Came home to put groceries away because we bought snacks because, he's 15 and snacks. We went to the bowling alley, and then from there we went to dinner. Came home. He took out the trash because that's his chore. He takes the can to the end of the driveway. About 9 o'clock, told him to go to bed. And he come out of his room where he was playing, and he said, "All right, good night, Mama. Good night, puppies. Love you." And went to bed. He was doing something in his room because about an hour later I heard some noise and I was like, "I don't care what you're doing in there, but go to sleep." And about midnight I got up and I went to bed. And 6 o'clock I went to wake him up for school Monday morning, and that's when he wasn't here.
Okay, our guest back with us, Tiffany Lee, Dr. Carol Lieberman, Lauren Vellucci. Tiffany Lee, your thoughts, anything that you saw from mom, from stepdad?
For sure, it's a lot of what I didn't see. So when you're watching this clip and you understand what's going on, I would expect to see, and I'm sure you all can agree, more emotion. If this was your 15-year-old son who is now missing, I would expect to see more visible emotion, maybe even some shaking and an actual tear. And we're just not seeing that here. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. And something else I'm noticing is that the interaction between Chris and Katie They don't make eye contact at all. I would think if this was your stepson and your son, they would maybe be a little more closer, physically supporting each other. But it's just like this kind of random, she looks over this way. When he's talking, he's not looking at her. She's not looking at him. She does kind of glance over in his direction as almost to get approval for what she's saying. But there's really something that feels off here. But my biggest thing is the lack of emotion that is being shown.
Dr. Carol Lieberman, what did you see? What did you notice? What's significant here?
Well, there's a huge difference between this couple and Sebastian's father. I mean, his father is acting like someone generally acts when their son is missing, and they're very devastated by it. I think they looked like robots, first of all, no feeling. But in particular, I think she looks like the typical woman who has been abused. I've treated a number of women who have been abused, and it's like this, not only robot-like, but her eyes down, deferred. Even when she looks at him, it's like kind of for approval, but it's more than that. It's like that she has been, she's afraid. There's some fear there, and I think that he has a lot of control over her. And when he was telling Sebastian's father, yes, let's have Sebastian live with you, she would have felt betrayed. If she wants Sebastian living with her, she would have felt betrayed by Chris. And that would have led to a lot of tension in the household.
Lauren, does the story itself make sense to you? Are there other things that you need to fill in what happened here?
It's a lot of detail that is not necessary, and I can tell you that happens when people are lying, like the size of that popcorn.
Colossal.
Colossal. It doesn't add any weight or any kind of anything to finding your son, and I need to know why these people are not searching, and I need to know why they've left town.
Tiffany Lee, Dr. Carol Lieberman, Lauren Vellucci, we're out of time for tonight, but obviously this story continues as the search for Sebastian continues. Thank you all so much. When we come back, folks, I will reveal something else that, yes, you absolutely need to know tonight. Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Let's take a look at the big board. And there he is, the defendant in the biggest case that we're tracking here on Court TV, the Idaho student murders. And he and his attorneys want the trial moved. They want a change of venue. And one thing that they're doing is they're calling residents in the area with a survey to try to prove to the judge that they're already it'll be impossible to find fair and impartial jurors. Well, the prosecution and the judge concerned about the questions they're asking, because by calling all these people and asking the questions, they're actually tainting the jury pool. Here are the questions. Have you read, seen, or heard DNA found on the knife sheath was later matched to the killer? Have you read, seen, or heard if the cell phone tower data shows that the accused killer made several trips near the victim's home in the month before the killing? Have you read, seen, or heard if the accused killer said he was driving alone on the night of the murders? This is all great evidence for the prosecution, but if all the potential jurors know that already, then they're going to have to move it. So they want them to stop calling and asking those questions in these surveys. Like it makes no sense. Let's take a listen. Here is the prosecutor.
We don't care about surveys. We care about these particular questions asked in this particular survey. The defense is welcome to contract with people from California or wherever, I don't care, to go and ask people, can you be fair? What have you heard about this? All those questions that Ms. Taylor was just talking about at page 2 of the transcript, those are appropriate questions for a survey. Page 4 are not appropriate questions for a survey. Just because they're put in the form of the question doesn't change the fact that they are an affirmative representation of a fact that if the hearer, the listener, was not aware of it, now they have been tainted by it.
It's genius by the defense, right? Everybody knows everything about this case. And then they bring in the jurors. They're probably going to say, yeah, somebody called me up and told me about it. Anyway, we'll keep our eye on all of that. We'll be right back.
We are underway in the trial of doomsday prophet Chad Daybell.
Prosecutors say they will seek the death penalty against him.
Investigators have recovered human remains at Chad Daybell's residence.
There's no way, Morgan. I could never come up with this.
His wife, Lori Vallow Daybell, has already been convicted.
Now, will her husband end up with the same fate?
It's just so hard to know where the truth ends.
It's the doomsday prophet, Chad Daybell, on trial.
911 call reporting Madeline missing. What does it say and what does it mean? Our think tank weighs in.
We have video evidence that shows Stephen Stearns discarding items in a dumpster in that apartment complex in Kissimmee at 7:35 on Monday, February 26th.
On the docket tonight in Oakland County, Michigan, Judgment Day for the Oxford school shooter parents is coming as they prepare for sentencing. And Jennifer Crumbley's defense attorney wants her client to serve her sentence at her house. Yes, Jennifer Crumbley's attorney wants her client to serve her sentence at her house.
This shooting is awful. It's the prosecution that's parading all of this up here and putting
parading? The shooting is the result of the defendant's gross negligence. That is the case.
They are the ones putting the victims through re-seeing all of this over and over and over.
Whoa.
In tonight's Tank Takes, a man is accused of stealing a tattoo of the Waffle House logo on his leg. And tonight we're wondering, what restaurant would our think tank want to get tattooed on their bodies? Get ready. This hour of closing arguments starts right now. I'm Vinnie Politan. Great to have you with us here in Closing Arguments. Big hour, big news tonight. And I want to get right to it. We're talking about the case of Madeline Soto. You know who she is, 13 years old, goes missing the day after her birthday party. She is found dead 22 miles from home. Her mother's boyfriend locked up because of the images on his phone showing this little angel being sexually abused. Those are the allegations. So he's locked up facing those charges. No one has been charged with her murder. And something happened to her. Somebody killed her. Well, guess what? We may have some more information tonight. More information tonight related to this case. Part of the investigation, and we've heard this, is the autopsy. Cause, manner of death, everything that you find, the images, the pictures, forensic evidence, all of that. The medical examiner's report, such a crucial part of any investigation, but especially this one. Especially this one. She's found discarded. Obviously something happened to her. What happened to her? Well, we've got information reporting from WFTV down in Orlando. The medical examiner's office said Thursday that it cannot release its report on Madeline Soto's autopsy. Okay, you're going to say, Vinny, well, what are you telling us? You're telling us nothing here. This is nothing. This is a big nothing, right? No. The reason why they can't release it, take a listen. Just like last hour, listen to every word. The medical examiner's office said the report is confidential and exempt from being publicly released because it involves a, quote, minor whose death was related to an act of domestic violence, end quote. The quote is from the law down there. The quote is from the law. If a minor is killed as a result of domestic violence, those autopsy results don't become public. New law in Florida. What are they telling us? The death is related to an act of domestic violence. Oh, we've narrowed the suspects now. We've narrowed them way down. Way down. This is a big development tonight, WFTV. Now, let's go through the timeline once again. if it's the first time you're hearing this little girl's name, I'm going to tell you exactly what happened here and what we know. It starts Sunday, February 25th. Madeline Soto celebrates her 13th birthday. Her mom Jen, unable to go because she was working, so she's not there. We've seen pictures. There are plenty of other people there. It's at a relative's house, and that's the dress she was wearing, and she was running around outside as well. Monday, February 26th, that's when Madeline Soto is reported missing. 8:40, Stephen Stearns, the boyfriend, the live-in boyfriend of mom, claims to have dropped her off 0.4 miles away from Hunters Creek Middle School. 4:30, Jen, the mom, goes to pick Madeline up, but learns that she never made it to school. And then at 8 o'clock, Jen reports Madeline missing. Next day, Jen Soto, February 27th, and Stephen Stearns sit down with WFTV for an interview. Stern appears very emotional about Madeline's disappearance, claiming the worst part is not knowing. Jen states the last time she saw Madeline was Sunday night, or the last time she spoke to her was Sunday night. Wednesday, February 28th, the search for Madeline. Several agencies combined to aid in this search. Over 50 members of an emergency response team are present. Later that day, Wednesday night now, February 28th, this was the big revelation. Stephen Stearns is arrested on unrelated charges, but are they unrelated? 2 counts of sexual battery and possession of material of sexual performance by a child. That victim, we believe, is Madeline. On his phone, that he told officers when he handed over the phone, I accidentally did a factory reset, but here you can take a look at it. Well, they took a look and they found stuff. Thursday, February 29th, police announced they believe Madeline is already dead and named Stearns as the prime suspect. They believe she was never dropped off. Then they explained that Stearns was spotted ditching her backpack and school-issued laptop the morning of her disappearance. 7:35 in the dumpster in the neighborhood. He's getting rid of the backpack and the laptop. They also claim that they see him returning in his car to the neighborhood with Madeline in there, and she's dead at 8:19. Flash forward, Friday, March 1st, Madeline's body is discovered off of Hickory Tree Road, 17 miles from her home. Police say that Stephen Stearns was spotted nearby changing a tire that afternoon, around 1:30 or so. Friday, March 12th, 60 more charges filed against Stearns. All of these we believe involved the abuse and battery and molestation of Madeline. Let's bring in our guests. Joining us tonight in Orlando, Florida, from WFTV, investigative reporter Shannon Butler on top of this story. Also with us, editor of the Osceola News-Gazette, Ken Jackson, on top of this story, on the ground in Central Florida. Shannon, let me start with you. I want to go through 911 calls in just a second, but just to get your reaction, are you with me on this? Death related to an act of domestic violence. There's only 2 people, there's 3 people living in that home, right?
Yeah, it certainly narrows it down. There's no question now, right, that it was someone that was that close to her. It is still unclear, though, Vinnie, in the last few weeks, just who may have been in that house and when. We know that it was Stephen Stearns. We know that Madeline's mother was there. We know that Madeline was there. The question is, was there anyone else there, a relative in that time period that's still a little fuzzy, that even investigators are trying to piece together? But it is very clear in that autopsy now, because of that medical examiner, that this was definitely at the hands of somebody who knew her.
Yeah, and Ken Jackson, domestic violence, I guess it could be in a car. I guess that would be still technically domestic violence, but if you're dropped off in the church parking lot, a stranger doesn't commit domestic violence.
No, and the story all along has been that, well, first it started out that Jen Soto and Stephen dropped her off, and then the story changed to, well, Stephen took her. You know, a defense attorney is going to hammer away on, you know, because we had the birthday party the day before, that, okay, well, there were other people that were around the day before, but yeah, like I said, the word domestic that narrows it down to anybody who lived in the house, and we don't have any evidence that there was anybody else other than Stephen and Jennifer, the mom. So like Shannon said, yeah, this narrows it down, and Florida has some of the most broad public records laws in the country. That's why I thought we would get at least a redacted version of the examiner's report. I guess we're not going to. So yeah, but we've got it narrowed down.
All right, let's listen now. Also, 911 calls. Let's take a listen to the first one, and then I want to get your analysis based on everything that we know, what we learned from this call. Let's listen.
911, what's the location of your emergency? And do you need police, fire, or medical?
Police, possibly. I'm reporting a missing child.
Okay. And the child that you're trying to report missing, are you calling on behalf of the parent?
Yes, on behalf of the mother. She's my
Okay. Okay. And then and ma'am, how old is the child? And could I go ahead and get her name?
Yes, it's...
And is she white, black, or Hispanic?
She's white.
Okay.
Blonde, dirty blonde hair, blue eyes.
Okay, hold on with me here. And then what color shirt and pants was she last seen wearing?
Hold on, let me ask. Then, what color shirt and what was she last wearing? Hold on, we're finding out.
Okay, and then how long has it been, though, since you guys have last seen her?
Since this morning. She was dropped off at school this morning, and apparently she never showed up. We called everyone we knew. No one's seen her.
Okay. And then, ma'am, I just want to confirm, though, was she last seen from this address? Is this where you guys last saw her?
No. She was last seen at the church next to Hunters Creek Middle School. I think it's called Peace Church. I'm not sure of the exact address. She was wearing a dark green hoodie, I believe.
What is the name of the church?
I think I'm pretty sure it's called Peace Church. It's the one right next to Hunters Creek Middle School. No.
Got it. It's across the street from it?
I believe so, yeah. There's two. I just forgot about the other one. It's not Focal Point Church. It's
well, is it Peace United Methodist Church?
Yes.
Okay.
That one.
Okay, is she diagnosed with any medical, mental conditions at all?
I know she takes medication for ADHD.
Okay, Shannon, I'll start with you. What are you hearing in this call? What strikes your interest? What do you think is significant here?
Well, the first thing that struck me was just how calm the caller was. You hate to judge how people react in these situations, but there's a missing child. Because of Florida law, we don't know who made the 911 call, but I've been told it is a family member, possibly Jen Soto's sister. I was surprised just how calm the caller was about a missing child. That was first. Second, you can hear the same story, right? Stephen Stern's same story, that he dropped her off at that church. That was the last time she had been seen. So the story obviously was relayed to the family members, the same story that he relayed to us in that interview.
How about this? One thing that I want to get both of your reactions to this. The operator says, what was she wearing? And the caller says, Jen, what was she wearing? And then there wasn't an immediate answer, like they didn't know at that moment. That's what I heard. But my understanding, and I'll start with you, Shannon, is that didn't she tell us or tell someone that she saw her getting dressed in the morning?
Was the first initial report to the responding deputy when they showed up, was that she saw her get. and out the door she went to school. So, I mean, maybe there was just a delay in the answer, but I think at that point, if she knew when the deputy got there what she was wearing, she probably knew on the 911 call too.
But Ken, what I'm wondering, and yeah, they do say dark green hoodie a little bit later in the call, but what I'm wondering is where's the information coming from? Because the initial question goes right to Jen, and there's not that immediate response. She was wearing, I saw her getting dressed, she was wearing this. That didn't happen. And I'm wondering if someone else is there, like a Stephen Stearns, filling in the details and telling the story.
Yeah, it's hard to know just from hearing that. I have to admit, I didn't hear these until this afternoon, so I'm still, piecing it together for the first or second time. The thing about this is these calls are on Monday. I know WFTV interviewed her on Tuesday. So what goes through my mind now that we're a month into this is that, okay, on Monday, this would have been the first time or the first couple of times that she's been going through this story. Later in the week, as she was interviewed by other people, I get the sense that having done it once or twice, you've sort of rehearsed it. And so it's easier to relay the same story. But this was Monday. This was day one. So it doesn't surprise me that maybe Jen doesn't have it all pieced together. She said that she went to the school at 4:30. She corroborated the story about the church in the morning. So she's pretty much on target here. If she indeed is standing next to whoever the caller is, then she's able to relay these things. So, but I would like to know who the caller is, and because I also heard the green hoodie comes in about 2 or 3 questions later.
Right, and where's that info coming from? Let's listen to another call because it seems the same woman calls back.
Hi, I called not that long ago reporting a missing child. I just wanted to know how long the cops are going to take to get here.
Okay, hold on. Let me open up the call and let's see. The call is still currently pending to have the deputies respond out there, but we don't have any available deputies. We still have the call up, though, holding.
Okay, so no one's on their way yet?
Not yet, no.
Does it take long for them to respond to the call?
If there's a big emergency in the area and there's no units available, they put the calls on hold. But as soon as one becomes available, they respond to the next pressing call.
Okay, yeah, we just need one here urgently. So
I understand. We still have the call. We still have the call holding.
Yes.
Yep, we still have the call holding for them. I'll go ahead and update them with the information.
All right, thank you, because this happened very recently, so we just want to get everyone here. She's been missing since 8 a.m., so we want to get everything done as soon as possible to try to find her.
I understand.
So, Shannon, what time are these calls coming in?
That's what we're not sure about because you'll hear another one. There was 3 calls made that day. It's hard to know, and we're still trying to piece together just how far apart the calls were. It appears these were in the afternoon after they realized that she didn't show up for school. Some of that in that third call, you'll be able to kind of piece together a little bit more. But in this call, Vinnie, did you see what the caller said, that the last time she was seen was 8 a.m.? So is it 8 a.m.? Is it 8:30? School doesn't start till after 9. But again, there's another time discrepancy about when she was last seen. That caller said 8 a.m. was the last time someone saw her.
Right, and someone's got to be giving her the information, the caller. Let's listen to that third call right now.
Vinnie, please fire medical.
No, it's not a medical issue. We have a missing child since this morning. We already called 3 times. And the police didn't show up yet.
Yes, ma'am, I see it right here for you. Yes, ma'am, I see it. This is waiting for a deputy to respond.
They haven't come here yet.
I'm aware, ma'am. I see it. It's waiting for a deputy to respond.
You're waiting for a deputy to respond?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long more do we need to wait? It's a child missing.
I understand that, ma'am, but I'm just not able to give out ETA. I don't know when they'll be there.
So how long do we need to wait? This is an emergency.
Ma'am, we have the information, but they're trying to get there to someone as soon as possible.
So this is not important for you guys? Really?
Ma'am, we were very busy in the area. Look, I understand they'll be there as soon as they can, okay?
Click. Ken, your thoughts?
And then she hangs up. I will say that third call sounds a little the voice sounds a little different than the first two calls. Other question that I have. Okay, the family lived in Kissimmee. The school is in Orange County, Hunters Creek, right across the county line. Where were these calls being made, like from a cell phone? And the reason I ask that is that I'm wondering if it was Orange County or if it was Kissimmee, their call center, and whose deputies or officers were responding to this case that leads to this delay where someone calls 3 times. And I'm also with Shannon trying to find out when these calls took place. It sounds like it was in the afternoon after Jennifer Soto had gone to the school 4:30, did not find her there. She was not there at all during the day. But these calls, while they kind of bring a couple of things into light, also creates a couple more questions.
So, Shannon, as we sit here tonight, had any sense from law enforcement how close or how far away they are from charges, from an arrest for the murder of this little girl?
How do I answer that, Vinnie? I think that in a couple of weeks, we may have some new information on the case. Understand that this is now Kissimmee Police working also with the state attorney's office, trying to go through the case step by step by step. I was told today that they are still working on what they're calling a task list. They're going down that list and checking everything off. Once that happens, they will meet again with the state attorney's office. The state attorney then will advise them on, charges, if they have enough for more charges and who's going to be charged. I suspect that the murder charge is taking longer for several reasons. One, you don't want to start the speedy trial unless you have what you need. It's also difficult unless you have the right evidence, if you have video or somebody said who did what. If there were more people inside that house, it's not as much of a slam dunk as you would hope it would be. I know what the public thinks. I mean, I get emails every day and questions every day on this case. They think, listen, it must be obvious. He was just arrested for this. But in order to take this to trial, they really need to try to figure out who was in the house, who did it. And what I'm not clear, though, Vinnie, and I wanted to get more into this week, is if Jen Soto is still cooperating with the authorities. We know that Stephen Stearns is not, but is she still cooperating? She has been interviewed several times. But listen, this case is going on, 6 weeks now? It's not clear just how much she's involved in this case now. I think it's going to be some time, but I do expect some kind of update, at least in a couple of weeks.
All right, we appreciate both of you coming on. Big news tonight. Shannon Butler, WFTV. Ken Jackson, the Osceola News-Gazette. Make sure you check out everything that they do. It's all online. You don't have to live in Central Florida to see their work. Thank you both so much. Appreciate it. When we come back, what does our think tank think about these developments? A minor whose death was related to an act of domestic violence. We'll hear from Kirk Nurmi, the judge, and Nima Rahman.
We are underway in the trial of doomsday prophet Chad Daybell.
Prosecutors say they will seek the death penalty against him.
Investigators have recovered human remains at Chad Daybell's residence.
There's no way, Logan, I can never come up with this.
His wife, Lori Vallow Daybell, has already been convicted.
Now, will her husband end up with the same fate?
It's just so hard to know where the truth ends.
It's the doomsday prophet, Chad Daybell, on trial.
Now, we are here on Hickory Road in St. Cloud where Madeline Soto's body was found. And if you take a glance behind me, you see there's not really much to this road. I mean, There's a little flat land on the left, a little brush on the right. It seems like you'd be able to see something from your car as you pass down this road, but it's not a busy road. There's only been 15, maybe 20 cars that have passed by since we've been here for the past half hour or so. And also, there's no security cameras on any of these light posts. But as we continue this way, we are reminded that this actually is where Madeline Soto's body was found by this memorial set up by community advocates, family members, maybe even some friends. Because right back there in that span of trees is where her body was found by police.
The murder of Madeline Soto, and tonight getting some information, reporting from WFTV involving the medical examiner's report. The medical examiner's office said the report is confidential and exempt from being publicly released because it involves, quote, a minor whose death was related to an act of domestic violence. That tells me this was not stranger danger. This is not a child being dropped off and walking to school and getting picked up by someone. No. This is an attack, a killing taking place in the house. But maybe I'm off base here. Let's bring in our think tank, see what they have to say. Joining us tonight in Cleveland, Ohio, retired judge, former prosecutor, and judicial fellow at the National Judicial College, Gail Byers, is with us. Also joining us in Phoenix, Arizona, you recognize him, the attorney who represented that woman. All right, Kirk Nermy's with us. And in Los Angeles, California, president of the West Coast Trial Lawyers, former federal prosecutor Nima Rahmani. Great to have everyone here. All right, Judge, what are your thoughts about what we are learning from the medical examiner's office?
Well, Vinnie, I think you are very correct in that we have to look very closely to the word choice that the medical examiner's office used in exempting the release of this report. When they not only identified, obviously, the victim as a minor, which we knew, what we didn't know is what may be connected facts or evidence to cause of death. And when they made this statement, pursuant to Florida statute, that the cause of death may be related to a domestic violence incident, that instantly tells you who the likely suspects are, more likely than not in this case, because we're talking about a very narrow field of individuals. Domestic violence has a very specific definition in Florida. And for minors and for individuals, it's related to those who live in the house with the individual, parents, those who have children in common, or what is called often in local parenti, or acting as a parent or a guardian. The only requirement for those who do not live together is that they have a child in common. So we know that that's not someone. What we do know is by using this term of domestic violence, we're now looking at who was at the time of Madeline's life or during her life was living in the house with her, whether it was briefly, because the statute doesn't even put a time limit on it. It says basically any time during the lifetime of the victim. If you ever live together, then you could presumably be a suspect of domestic violence to someone you ever lived with. And that's what is kind of a bell ringer here, because we've got the mother's boyfriend that's in custody. He clearly lived in that home with that child. And we have the mother who we're not really sure what they're going to do with her, because now she's cooperating. We know for a fact that at least those two people could be suspects of domestic violence against his child. We don't know if there's someone else. And that leaves a lot of questions. And I'd be really interested to see how this shakes out with the prosecutor's investigation. It's going to be really interesting. But I think we kind of know who most of the fingers are pointing right now.
Much closer tonight. Kirk Nermy, do you think we're much closer tonight getting an idea? Because it seems like the medical examiner's office has perhaps finished this report, because all of a sudden they're talking about the death. Like, if you're talking about the death related to domestic violence, then you probably have a cause and manner here.
Yeah, you probably have a cause and manner, but as to follow up on what the judge just said, you also have a suspect, right? This is a limited universe when we're talking about this domestic violence provisions. We're talking about stepfather, mother, close relatives, things of that nature, right? And I don't think location plays a part in it, just the relationship. So I think they have all the evidence. They're using this, and the fact that Mr. Stearns is behind bars, he's not going anywhere. we want justice at the speed of light, but ultimately it's more important to get it right in a case like this, especially when it's a capital case. So I think we're going to see the authorities moving forward, moving methodically, knowing that, if they're going to charge Mr. Stearns anyway, that he's not going anywhere anytime soon, and there is indeed no rush.
All right, Nima, when you have to solve a case, investigate a case, and then prove a case in court, I mean, the jury's going to want to know, where did it happen? Where did it happen? It's domestic violence, okay. Is the home a crime scene? Is the car a crime scene? Is there some other place? These are other very important questions that I think prosecutors are going to need to answer here.
Oh, absolutely, Vinny. And I think you're right. I think the home and the vehicle are likely crime scenes. And so what do we know about Stearns right now? And you touched upon all this. I mean, here's someone who reportedly lied about where he took the victim. And there's video of him apparently putting her in the car and discarding items when she's already passed away. So those are 2 strikes. And obviously that phone, first to containing the child pornography, again, what's being reported, and probably not just child pornography, production of child pornography. In many states, and certainly on the federal level, we're talking about mandatory minimums there. And of course, innocent people, Vinny, they don't wipe their phone, right? Certainly not the day that they talk to law enforcement. This is all very damning evidence for Stearns. And like the judge said, it's a question of what did Soto know? Was she involved in all this? Was she innocent? So I think that's the big question here. But I think Stearns is looking at very significant time here, both on the child porn and the eventual charges that I think are going to come related to the death in this case.
Let me ask you, Judge, domestic violence, let's just take a leap here and presume that it's Stephen Stearns. Is it reasonable to believe that Jen Soto could be completely oblivious to years of the abuse and then an act of domestic violence that takes the life of her daughter? Could she have no idea any of this was happening?
I think any mother, and I think that's perhaps what jurors will look to if this is a jury trial, and if there's a trial to the bench, trial to the judge, they would be thinking, what mother isn't in tune to their prepubescent daughter who doesn't have their finger on the pulse, understanding that their body's going through changes, they're always hormonal, they're going through changes. And so to come to the reality that your live-in boyfriend has been sexually assaulting your child for an extended period of time, and the idea that the mother has no clue whatsoever means you have absolutely no relationship or connectivity, presumably, to your child. And so I think from a logical standpoint, you're going to have maybe jurors or any trier of fact that's going to find that to be pretty incredible, which may also explain why she's cooperating. Yeah. It might have a lot to do with why she wants to maybe get in front of this, because, Vinny, you know the rules. I was a prosecutor. The first to squeal gets the deal. So if there's any way to save yourself, you might want to pipe up now.
And I just always hope that a parent whose child has been murdered would cooperate, period. Anything and everything you need to know, I'm here to help you. But anyway, good news.
Assuming you had nothing to do with it.
Well, exactly. That's what I always want to presume, that the parent has nothing to do with it. We'll see. We'll stay on top of it. Think Tank stays with us. Up next.
The defense attorney for the Oxford school shooter's mother, Jennifer Crumbley, wants her client to serve her sentence at her house. And the prosecution is asking for 10 years. 10 years.
This shooting is awful. It's the prosecution that's parading all of this up here and putting
parading? The shooting is the result of the defendant's gross negligence. That is the case.
They are the ones putting the victims through re-seeing all of this over and over and over.
Whoa.
We are all here because of me today, of what I did. My actions were because of what I chose to do. I could not stop myself, but I am the one who led to why we are here today. I do not diminish any ability to anyone who could have stopped me. of any one of a school or parents. They did not know, and I did not tell them what I planned to do, so they are not at fault of what I've done.
Oh, yes, they are at fault. Your parents, they were found guilty. Their sentencing is coming up. Take a look, folks. Sentencing next Tuesday. Next Tuesday is the sentencing. Now, the parents will be sentenced for what they did, for the involuntary manslaughter of the 4 victims. Here's what the state is recommending for the sentence. At least 10 years in prison. Maximum sentence is 15 years in prison with credit for 2.5. But the real blockbuster is what we're hearing, these new details. In their filing, prosecutors disclosed that Jennifer Crumbley is hoping to avoid prison and instead be fitted with an electronic tether and live with her attorney, Shannon Smith. Did you? And they're recommending 10 years. So 10 years living with her lawyer. What? Let's bring in the think tank. Kirk Nurmi, any clients or former clients come to mind that you might have invited to maybe live with you to serve out their sentence?
Not at all, Vinnie. I could not believe this. I thought you were pranking me. I thought this was
is
a
not
tank
April
take.
1st. This is not April 1st.
I know. I could not believe that a defense attorney would come up to a judge with a straight face and put in pleadings the idea that they wanted their client to live in house arrest, electronic monitoring in their guest house. You can make an argument saying, okay, listen, probation is appropriate, maybe a short prison, maybe she's done enough time in incarceration, maybe probation's appropriate. But this idea of living in her guest house, to me, if I'm a judge, that's going to lose a lot of credibility with me. The attorney's argument is emotional. A lawyer is supposed to be surgical and logical with their representation of their client, and this is far from that. And certainly, I think it does their client a disservice because it's more likely, if I was a judge on the bench, more likely to lead to a term of imprisonment.
Nima, we're short on time here, but how about the prosecutor saying, yes, judge, make her live with her lawyer for 10 years?
Yeah, I don't know if that's a bigger punishment for the Crumbleys or the lawyer.
For the lawyer, for sure.
In all seriousness, Vinnie, I mean, obviously this is a terrible crime and really terrible parents. What they should have done is try to actually save their son from a life sentence and actually accept some responsibility for their role in all this. Instead, try to save themselves, lost badly at trial. I expect them to get slammed, but not have to do that time with their lawyer.
Judge, 5 seconds. Would you even consider that?
Oh, absolutely. As long as the lawyer agrees to go live at the state penitentiary with the client. Boom. You can absolutely live with your lawyer.